Master X and Brickwall HD from Tc Electronic. Are these two the new best mastering limiters out there? No, they're not. Simply because there's no best. There's only the best for a given track. Next song, who knows? But are these two tools that I want in my arsenal? Definitely. Let's see why.
Hands on my neck, hands grip my throat. Lift me up, man, take control.
Hello everyone, welcome back to MixbusTv. Hope you're having a great day. Before we start, please check the info box down below for my mixing courses on ProMix Academy, free plugins, special discounts and offers, and of course the links to the two units that we are looking at today. And if the videos are helping you, you want to support the channel, but most important now, access to the all-new exclusive, premium, in-depth mixing and mastering videos and courses here on the channel without having to sign up on another site, go to another site. Click the join button down here, see all the perks of becoming a MixbusTv member, which gives you also mix consultations with me via Skype or email. There is already a ton of content that is available for members only, but shortly after this video will be published, a new in-depth and very advanced mastering course will be released again for members only. Not only that, but from now on, I will also have from time to time special exclusive discounts for MixbusTv members for plugins, hardware, and so on. Let's get to the video. First of all, let's answer the most common question. Are these hardware units or plugins? These are plugins. The controllers are actually optional. You can buy the plugins by themselves, just the software, and have all the functions that you have with the controllers. But the controllers are very cool and very useful if you ask me. So we have two units, the Master X HD and the Brickwall HD. The Brickwall is a final limiter, and it also have a very cool soft clip function. We can see it here in the screen with three different algorithms: soft, smooth, and hard. Of course, all the functions that you can access from the plugin GUI, you can control with the physical interface. In this case, we have a soft clip type button, and here you have the three algorithms: soft, smooth, and hard. And here you have the amount of clipping, which is expressed in dB. So think of it as a threshold, okay? And you can also turn it off completely, and you can see it mirrors what happens in the GUI of the plugin. This goes for all the functions. I tested these two plugins extensively before doing the video, so I'm gonna tell you what I like and what I don't like about them. Also, I did an extensive test comparing all the clippers that I have, and I have a lot, comparing all of them against not only the Brickwall HD soft clipper, the three algorithms, but also the multiband. The Master X has a soft clip, which is different from the one that we find in the Brickwall. I compare these against all the clippers that I have, all the software, and a couple of hardware. That video will come up soon, and it's gonna be members only. So let's go back to our Brickwall limiter. The interface has a gain release button, a cell profile button, soft clip type, a preset. Then we have the meter, which is very useful. This is one of the functions that I really, really like. This plugin and the physical interface have a really nice readout for integrated loudness and max true peak, peak to loudness, loudness range, short term, and momentary loudness max. You can see them here in the corner of the GUI, but when you have meter selected, you can scroll through all those metering, and when you move this knob, it tells you what it is, the LUFS and max peak. If you play a track, it will read out the value in real time. So even if you don't have the GUI open, you can read that. The next, it will change to peak to loudness and loudness range. In real time, you can have the readout. This is one function that I really like to have on the controller, because no matter what happens in my screen, I can have all my levels here. Bypass button bypasses the unit, of course, and these two blue buttons here are one of the interesting things about this limiter. First one is master limiter. When you have it in this mode, you basically drive the input up. That's your gain-in slash threshold, okay? So if I play a track, okay, here's the first thing that I'm not a fan of. You don't have a way to auto compensate when you turn out the input and start limiting, and auto gain is applied. I hope they will update to get this function, because for me it's very important. The next mode and blue button is the loudness limiter. This lets you set, instead of a number of dB of gain reduction, an LUFS target. So it will analyze the track, and you set your loudness target, your LUFS target, and it will apply automatically the amount of dB of limiting needed to get there. And here you also have recommendation for Spotify is between minus 12.5 and minus 15, for Apple 11 to 16, AAS streaming, and here we have the set gain button. So let's say right now there's no LUFS set. I'm gonna set it to minus 14 LUFS. I press gain and he's listening, so I'm playing the track.
No sunshine on this side of town. You could get lost and never.
Right now says sample okay, and let's see.
No sunshine on this side of town. You could get lost.
And he's applying the amount of limiting necessary to reach, in this case, you can see it here, minus 13.9 LUFS. So that's one thing that I really like about these two. They are very, very precise tools. Let's see, we want to increase the LUFS, and here the limiter in action a little more. You notice one thing in the GUI, when I go up with the LUFS, it turns off Spotify and Apple. Now, this is a subject for another video as to why I don't follow those guidelines, and I don't think anybody should, to be honest, but there are many reasons for that. I'm not going to explain it in this video. We'll do another video about it. So let's start hearing how this limiter performs.
No sunshine on this side of town. You could get lost and never be found. Fuck it, I'ma ride out till my fucking time's out. So I gotta make it. It's do or die now, and my soul is sainted.
As I said before, the fact that there is not a way to auto-compensate bothers me. So we are knocking about 4 dB of limiting. Is very, very transparent. I really like the readouts here. You have your LUFS level in blue. You have the limiting reduction.
No sunshine on this side of town.
And your input and output. Another thing that I'm not a fan of is that if I go to the ceiling, let's say I try to lower my ceiling by 4 dB, which is exactly what I'm compressing, limiting right now, you can see both arrows here go down. So if you lower your ceiling by X amount of dB, you're also going to limit X amount of dB more. That is something that I'm not a fan of. I really hope they figure the input and output better. I don't see an output control anywhere here unless I am missing it. It doesn't seem you're able to set that one, but the sound of the limiter I really like. Remember, these two things, we said it in the intro video, in the unboxing video, the algorithms are taken from the System 6000, which is a very expensive mastering suite. But let's go to another couple of functions. Here you can see you have the release, which I set right now at about 40-50 milliseconds. But you also see that you have profiles here: general, rock, acoustic, and vocals. So if I turn my release all the way down, the adaptive release is activated automatically. So if I click profile button, it tells me that now I'm in general, rock, acoustic, and vocals, okay? General has a high tolerance for loudness, for distortion. Rock does even more. Acoustic instead is not meant for high amount of limited because you will hear distortion, and even more for vocals. So for sensitive material, like classic acoustic material or vocals, you want to use these profiles, but you don't want to limit more than, let's say, a couple of dB, which is something you would do anyway for those styles. Instead, when you master general, so any modern kind of music or rock, you want to try these two. Now, I personally find the manual release better. I didn't find any material so far where I liked the various profiles because the release tend to be a little slow. I'll show you.
No sunshine on this side of town. You could get lost and never be found. Fuck it, I'ma ride out till my fucking time's out. So I gotta make it. It's do or die now, and my soul is sainted. Should've been out by now, running out of patience, losing my mind now. Feel like I gotta watch my my back, I'm a danger. Used to be homie, some changed up, hard working, now this ain't luck. Just caked up, I made up my no sunshine on this side of town. You could get lost and never be found.
Okay, instead with the manual release, I feel it works better. But you have that option, and I was also exaggerating the limiting right now to make it obvious, the pumping. And this track has a really big bottom, so that's kind of normal, but that's where you want to use the Master XD instead. This limiter is really meant for the final couple of dB of limiting, and it's very transparent. But you also can add that extra loudness to your material by using the soft clip. The soft algorithm has a soft curve. The smooth algorithm has an even smoother and wide curve. And the hard clipping is straight hard clipping. So the most transparent would be the smooth, but it's also the one that smooth out the transient a little more. So let's try that.
No sunshine on this side of town. You could get lost and never be found. Fuck it, I'm a rider till my fucking time's out, so I gotta make it. It's do or die now, and my soul is sainted. Should've been out by now, running out of patience, losing my mind now.
On some material like this one, you can hear the hard could be the best choice. Especially for rock, I really like it. Let me try if I can reach the clipping without limiting at all.
No sunshine on this side of town. You could get lost and never be found. Fuck it, I'm a rider till my fucking time's out, so I gotta make it. It's do or die now, and my soul is sainted. Should've been out by now, running out of patience, losing my mind now. Feel like I gotta watch my back, I'm a danger. Used to be homie, some changed up, hard working, now this ain't luck. Just caked up, I made up my no sunshine on this side of town.
Okay, you can hear the differences in the 3 algorithm. Now for me, the transparency of the first 3-4 dB on certain material, all the limiter, and the soft clip alone are worth the price for this, which is below $200. So I think this is it for the functions of the Brickwall limiter. Let me compare it really quick because everybody will ask. I'm gonna turn the clipper down and just use the master with a couple of common other limiters, which are ozone, for example. Okay, I boosted the gain to 9, which means I'm gonna do the same. I'm gonna pick one of my favorite algorithms here, and I'm gonna do the same here. I'm gonna turn down the threshold to 9 and leave the ceiling at -0.1, so we match the levels between these two at least. I'm not gonna use anything else, just straight limiting, and I'm gonna do the same with Pro L. So -9, and I'm gonna use the modern, which is one of my favorite, Brickwall HD.
No sunshine on this side of town. You could get lost and never be found. Fuck it, I'm a rider till my fucking time's out, so I gotta make it. It's do or die now, and my soul is sainted. Should've been out by now, running out of patience, losing my mind now. Feel like I gotta watch my back, I'm a danger. Used to be homie, some changed up, hard working, now this ain't luck. Just caked up, I made up my no sunshine on this side of town. You could get lost and never be found. Fuck it, I'm a rider till my fucking time's out, so I gotta make it. It's do or die now, and my soul is sainted. Should've been out by now.
Okay, this is a quick test. Now, like I said, there's no best. There's only the best for a given track. With different material, all the limiters react differently. In this one, ozone wins for me, but I'm also kind of pushing this kick drum into all of them, but ozone seems to react better. Ozone is one of my favorite limiters, but usually my final mastering, limiting, clipping chain sees 2 clippers, 1 multiband limiter, 2 actually limiters, and also I clip either my crane song head, or there's a plugin which simulates the 80 clipping of a really nice mastering grade converter, but that's a secret. So I want and will keep this one first for the clipping, which I really like, but also because I master professionally and I need many tools. And sometimes the combination of various limiters and clippers that gets you to the final result, to the LUFS level that you want, can be very different. Things change very dramatically if I insert the soft clip.
No sunshine on this side of town. You could get lost and never be found. Fuck it, I'ma ride out till my fucking time's out. So I gotta make it. It's do or die now, and my soul is tainted. Should've been out by now, running out of patience, losing my mind now. Feel like I gotta.
It retains more punch, I can push it more, especially with whatever I'm gonna follow. This was Brickwall HD. Let's go to the Master X. Now this one instead is a very interesting approach to multiband compression for mastering. And it's pretty different from all the other multiband compressors that I have. Again, it's taken from the System 6000. And let's take a look at the controls. So we have 3 different dynamic processor in here. We have an expander, we have a multiband compressor, and we have a multiband limiter. And again, a soft clipping stage, which sounds different from the Brickwall HD. Here, all the way on the left, you have the curves. You have 4 curves: flat, bass, air, and smiley. And of course, on the display, which is really high quality, by the way, you have all your readouts, input, output, and also low, mid, and high frequency gain reduction. So let me play a track. Okay, you can see here in the response at the top, you have the blue line, that is your compressor. Here with the block select button, you cycle through expander, compressor, and limiter. Now I'm in limiter, I'm gonna lower the threshold here. You saw you can control attack and release for every block, just selecting your block and moving the knobs. Now, where the different approach to multiband limiting and compressing comes with this one is different because instead of setting threshold, attack, release, ratio for the compressor and the expander for each individual band, those controls are going to be the same for all 3 bands when you set them. You use the curve to change how the multiband compressor react and respond to the material. This is different because it kind of limits you. You don't have all the tweak abilities for each band, for each parameter like you have on all the multiband compressors, but it's also a lot easier and fast to set up. So here you can see the curves: flat, bass, air, and smiley. Let's start with bass. See, in this way, if you have a track like we had before with a big low end, you won't overcompress the low end. And at the same time, it kind of focuses more on the high end. So here you also have the factor. So how much of this curve you want. Let's play the track. Flat. I'm exaggerating the threshold so you can hear the difference. This is not only good for a bass heavy track, but it's also really good if you have a track that is too bright. So you kind of start to understand how you can use these curves to rebalance very broad stroke and very transparently, because that's another thing. This multiband compressor is among the most transparent that I've ever heard, so that I really like. And again, we're talking about mastering, so I'm way over compressing right now for the sake of the video. The other thing we can do, if we press edit, we can of course set the clipper, activate it, and start clipping. You hear this soft clipper here? It adds quite some warmth. It retains a lot of punch. You can see here you have the limiter lights at the top for each band and your range of compression here, the white lights. So let's experiment with another curve. Instead of bass, let's go air. Let's go smiley. Even if I am over compressing still, I'm just doing it so you can hear the change in energy on the track every time I change the curve. And right now I'm exaggerating the curve factor as well. You want to stay more conservative, 50%. And it's also cool that you can have on the controller a different function that you have here and you're tweaking. For example, right now I was tweaking the compressor and the limiter threshold, but I had the curve factor engaged here. So I could change that while I'm doing that. So I personally really like the controllers to have them here. I like the sound of the multiband compressor. And let's keep going because we have another couple of things on the edit menu that are accessible. So we saw the soft clip. We have the mix wet knob. So if we go in the mix tab here on the plugin, you can see you have balance left and right and mix wet. And you can lock this one in when you change settings or when you change presets. Next one, you have input level, output level, and you have the tab here. And I would like to see something like this on the Brickwall because here you can adjust the output gain and compensate for the limiting or the compression that you're doing. We have balance left and right, which is a control that you find in the mix tab. Then we have the look ahead for the clipper. So it's 10 milliseconds by default. You can turn it all the way off if you want. And then in the next two, you can change the crossover frequencies. You can see the arrows here at the bottom, okay? But you can change it from here. So the first one is the low frequency. Right now it tells you it's set at 140. I'm gonna go higher. The reason is because I want to show you how you can use changing the crossover frequencies with the use of the curve. If I select bass, if I select the bass curve, now that bump, so the part of the audio that is not compressed as much is higher. Okay, let's go back. If I go even higher, back to the curve, you see? So play the track. I'm almost using this one as a de-esser right now. The mid-range is pretty much not compressed or limited at all. So combine changing the crossover frequency with the curves and you have a pretty easy to use but very precise multiband mastering compressor. Let's go back to low frequency for the low band. You can change, of course, the high frequency as well. You can see it in the screen. I think it's pretty cool. Now, the last thing, of course, is the band gain. So let's go flat. And with the band gain, of course, you can adjust it from the nodes here as well. You just compensate for how much you're compressing. Few controls, broad strokes, without having to adjust attack and release for every band, the threshold for every band, ratio for every band or release, but still extremely versatile. And I feel somewhat less intrusive than other multiband compressors because of that. Let's try really quick on another track that I mastered some time ago.
Them are some big pretenders, so me take away myself from them. Take away myself from them. Ulterior agenda, me take away myself from them. Take away myself from them. Bad vibes sender, me take away myself from them. Take away myself from them. Man, I go like we no member, but them devious ways that me they fake condemn. Them have them, yeah, I open, but I go on like them no see way. Yet same time still a pre-way. Them want we top off, but me tell them that I no fi way. We black and polish like kiwi. All when I poison them I try kiwi. Still can't kill no R.I.P. we. See cinema warrior, no how to see the way. Kelly in a propaganda's house in the VC way. Them are some big pretenders, so me take away myself from them. Take away myself from them. Ulterior agenda, me take away myself from them. Take away myself from them. Bad vibes sender, me take away myself from them. Take away myself from them. Man, I go like we no member, but them devious ways that me they fake condemn. Yo, them are some big pretenders, so me take away myself from them.
Okay, just a last example. One thing that I didn't mention and is very important about the curves. You can set the factor of the curves independently for limiter and compressor and expander. So in this case, for example, you can see my factor for the limiter in base curve is 10%. So I want the limiter in this case to take care of the low end, and I don't want the compressor instead. And my curve is over 60% to compress the low end. And you can play with these things and pretty much prep any track and rebalance any track and get it ready to reach that loudness level, LUFS, RMS that you want in a very transparent way, and most likely to use less limiting and clipping. So I really like the Master X. Both need some updates, I think, especially the Brickwall limiter, especially that essential matching in and out, but they're both really cool tools that I'm definitely gonna keep. And I think this is it for this video. Like I said before, there is another video that is gonna be members only, in which I compare all the clippers that I have. And I have many. K-clip, standard clip, big clipper from Boss Lab. I'm gonna compare the Brickwall HD limiter, all three, the Master X clipper, a couple of old clipper plugins that I obviously like because I brought them along this whole time, that turn out to be winners against many others. Eventide Saturate, the clipping function on Pro L2, what else? Tokyo Dome Lab, one of my favorite, and many others. And I'll throw in a couple of hardware as well. The video is going to be members only, as many of the juicy one from now on. So click the join button, take a look at all the perks of becoming a MixbusTv member. I hope this video was useful. I hope you liked it. If you did, please don't forget to leave a like and share. Follow MixbusTv on Instagram and Facebook. There's a lot of exclusive material in there as well. Not only pictures and news, but I pop up live here and there on Instagram while I'm working, so you have a sneak peek of my sessions. And I also take a couple of live questions if I have time. A live stream coming soon here on the channel, so start dropping your question. Leave your comments down below. Let me know what you think about these two. Thank you for watching. Subscribe if you haven't already. Stay safe and see you next time.
Hands on my neck, hands grip my throat. Lift me up, man, take control. Heart is so